Welcome to C Files, folks. I'm going to be doing a devotion time later this evening or this afternoon. I got to make a run right now. A little concerned. The church in Michigan that was attacked over the weekend. Churches need to be on alert these next few weeks. Pete Hegseth called a meeting today of generals and admirals. These guys were coming all the way from the Pacific, Europe, everywhere to meet up with Hegseth. Nobody knows what that's about. I've seen a lot of speculation as to what it might be about. It's been rumored that the Trump administration has advised hospitals to be on alert for the possibility of mass casualties. So something is brewing, something is happening, and I don't want anyone to be scared or fearful or on edge. Just be aware and be smart about how you go about your business every day. I don't operate out of fear, folks. Period. I spent 30 years protecting the sheep from the wolves. My first instinct, because of my training and experience, and this is true of a whole bunch of veterans and law enforcement, retired law enforcement, the first instinct is to go after the wolf that's attacking the sheep. So I don't operate out of fear. I operate out of mindset, tactics, and a love for the sheep. So it's important that you have to understand and realize, folks, things are heating up right now in the country. And I think if you're watching, if all you do is watch the evening news, then you're going to be totally oblivious to what's going on. That is the worst source of information you can have, is MSNBC, CBS, ABC, Fox News, PBS, I don't know what all there are, but any of those mainstream news sources that are out there, if that's your only source of information, you're not going to know what's going on in the country, and you're not going to understand what's happening. I'm telling you right now, be on alert. Make sure your churches are taken care of this Sunday. Any Christian schools, make sure they're well protected and taken care of, because Christians are being targeted right now. Some people are conflating Christianity with being Trump supporters. I mean, it doesn't matter if your church has made any kind of political statements or has completely avoided any kind of political statements and just does expository preaching every Sunday and never even mentions Trump, never even mentions politics. In the minds of some of these people, they don't care if you're Christian, you're the enemy. If you're Christian, you're a Trump supporter. I mean, that's how they think. And so you're not protected just because you never mention politics in church or even in the school. That's not going to protect you. So make sure you are aware of what's going on around you. There are people who have completely lost their minds. And they think, there are people who actually believe that the country has fallen to a Nazi regime or whatever it might be. And they believe that they are protecting the country by attacking you and your family and your church and the school that your kids attend. They are that delusional, folks. They're not living in reality. Always be aware of these folks. They're dangerous, and you need to make sure that you can do whatever you can do to protect your family and so forth. Now, beware of becoming paranoid. Paranoia doesn't help. Okay, it doesn't do anything. Paranoia will paralyze you, and you won't be able to respond to a situation properly if you're paranoid. There's a difference between having a mindset of readiness and paranoia. There's also a difference between having a mindset of readiness and being lackadaisical, completely oblivious to what's going on around you. You need to be in that in-between section. It's not a green light and it's not a red light, it's a yellow light. It's a caution light, right? So, they put out a tornado warning, right? I'm sorry, a tornado watch, I meant to say. They put out a tornado watch. That means there's the potential of a tornado hitting your area, but nothing has materialized yet as far as any tornadoes, right? So what do you do when you have a tornado watch? You prepare yourself for the possibility of the tornado warning, which means that a tornado has actually touched down on the ground in your area, and the potential of it coming into where you are is there, you know. So that's a higher level of alertness than a tornado watch. So if you're thinking about the circumstances in the country right now, put it in the category of a tornado watch, or could we say a terrorism watch, if you could. You know, if you could think of it that way. So that's where we are. There's a lot of, I think there's still sleeper cells in the country. There are people who have been radicalized. There are a lot of people that don't like the way this country is set up. They don't like a constitutional republic. That's why they keep pushing for the concept of democracy, because they don't like the fact that we're a constitutional republic. There are others that don't like the fact that we're not adherent to their particular religion, or we're not adherent to their particular political philosophy, like communism. So, yeah, it's just a time to be aware. And that was really the main message I wanted to put out today. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing a car talk. I just feel like this is important right now. You know, especially with the military being called in, the generals and admirals being called in for a briefing, which is, I mean, I've been alive for 65 years. I spent 13 years total in the military. I had a secret clearance in the military. I served in 2 different branches, Navy and Army National Guard. And I have never heard of anything like that before, where top commanders, 1-star generals, 2-star, 3-star, 4-star, have been called in, and admirals called in for the same meeting at the same in Quantico, that's significant, folks. So that's something. So there's something to be alert about. Now, I doubt they're going to put out to the public what the discussion was, but it should be enough to make you heighten your alert status. They're briefing for a reason, folks. I've been to secret briefings that required a secret clearance when I was in the military, and I'm telling you right now, they don't call that kind of a briefing unless something significant is behind it. So just be aware of that. And with this attack on this church in Michigan, and there are threats being made against churches now, and Christian schools, I would just say be aware. I'm categorizing through my mind right now things that are happening, and just thinking through it out loud right now with you guys. With the situation in Venezuela, we have 82nd Airborne on the ground in a neighboring country. So if you have 82nd Airborne, you're also going to have, my personal opinion, my experience, you're going to have Air Force pararescue jumpers, PJs. You're going to have Air Force combat controllers, their special forces. You're probably going to have Rangers there as well, but they're not going to tell you they're there. Green Berets. And then at sea, you've got an amphibious force off the coast of Venezuela. I can't talk. Off the coast of Venezuela right now. My tongue gets twisted because I have a birth defect that affects that. So anyway, Venezuela. So you're going to have a Marine force off the coast. If you have that, then you're also going to have Navy SEALs, and you're going to have probably UDT, underwater demolition. And Marine Recon, they're going to be there. That's a significant fighting force, folks. The 82nd Airborne is the tip of the spear when it comes to the mainline infantry forces of the Army. They're the only force in the Army that still does the jumps from the C-130s. 101st Airborne is now air assault. Have been since Vietnam. So they'll come in from the helicopters. But 82nd, when the 82nd Airborne's going in, you know something significant's about to go down. So that right there might be what they're concerned about, because if they hit Venezuela, and also these indictments, Comey, the indictment on Comey, there is a list of indictments that are going to happen. They had to get rid of some of these corrupt prosecutors that, the grand jury's doing indictments. The prosecutors are trying to block the indictments because they're Obama appointees or whatever it might be. They're just trying to hinder what's being done. But possibility with this shutdown, they might be gone. Trump could fire them anytime he wants to, really. He doesn't even need the shutdown to do that. So, when these indictments come through, and the prosecutors actually take them and prosecute, these folks, it's going to shock the nation. Because we're talking high-level people, not just Comey. He's the thread that could undo the whole, if you pull the thread, it could unravel the entire fabric, right? So, maybe they're anticipating between dealing with Venezuela and also the indictments that are coming out, an uprising in the country. Maybe even an attempted insurrection inside the country. That could be what they're concerned about. And I'm just speculating at this point, but it makes sense based upon what we do know in the news. So, if that were the case, that would be a reason why hospitals have been put on alert. So, the places I think that would be most vulnerable would be the big cities. That's usually marked as targets. But places like where I'm at, which is a rural area, it seems like rural area churches get targeted. And so nobody's really excluded from the possibility of these insurrection type of uprisings, these terrorist attacks, these attacks by people who may have mental issues, schizophrenia, and not all schizophrenics have a problem with this. The gentleman that attacked that church in Michigan, former Marine, combat veteran with a brain injury. That's the key. He had a brain injury. I've dealt with brain injury people before when I was in law enforcement, and they go through treatment for their brain injury, but I've had them go off just no rhyme or reason, doesn't make sense. All of a sudden they just go off, and it's because of the brain injury that affects them. So they're saying this Marine had a brain injury, schizophrenia, probably as a result of the brain injury, because of a wound that he received in combat. So, it could come from anybody, any direction. So always be aware of your surroundings. Stay safe. Think about what you're doing. I know that most people in society are sheep. At least try to be a smart sheep and try to stay safe. The sheepdogs are few and far in between. That's the thin blue line. And the sheepdogs scared the sheep because they have fangs. And but those fangs are not for the sheep. Those fangs are for the wolf that attacks the sheep. And that's what the thin blue line is. The sheepdog and the wolf get into it in the mortal combat. And the wolf is going to protect the sheep at any cost. So that's how it works. So if you have a sheepdog mentality, you understand what I'm talking about. If you have a sheep mentality, you'll never understand what I'm talking about. But try to do what you can to take care of yourselves and your family, your churches, and so forth. All right, I think I've beat that dead horse half to death, so I think we'll just call it there. God bless. I'll see you next time on the C-Files.